All right. Hello, good evening. My name is Charlie Chewy Baca. This is Red Road Journey, and this is.
Hello, my name is Jacqueline.
I thought your name was April. Just kidding. A side joke.
I've known him forever, and he calls me April.
Yeah, it was really bad. It was an event, a big public event,
Public.
Sober Indians in Sobriety event, and I introduced her as April.
And I was looking around for April too.
Yeah. Anyway, this is Red Road Journeys, where we talk about the culture of recovery and all things to expect while you have already decided to quit drinking. Now, the point is not to convince people to quit drinking. That's the whole other thing. This is just telling people what to expect when you do quit drinking. All right. So, what we're going to talk about we're thinking about parenting. Parenting in sobriety. Holy cow! What a big time issue. What do you remember as being the biggest shocker in sober parenting?
When I first got sober, my biggest shock was like, how do I change things different so that I parent my daughters in a sober manner rather than doing the same things, just not drinking. Yeah, like, so how do we get out and go do things rather than just being stuck in our home? How do we go out and like interact with people rather than like not interacting with people? Just a host of so many things. How do we celebrate this holiday or this birthday?
Oh God, even that can be, because previously everything revolved around drinking. I remember every single Christmas, at least especially as a teenager, it was, open up your toys and everything, presents, and then all of a sudden, parents start drinking and like, oh man, and then. And every time in the evening, it was such a bummer because there was always some kind of argument, fight, making you feel guilty about the gift you got and stuff like that. It was horrible. What a horrible. So everything's got to be unfamiliar.
Yeah. And not only that, but like, so it's like almost like creating new traditions of how do we celebrate this or how do we do this now and how do we go about that? Like even mundane tasks. How do we go to the laundromat without it being a drunk event?
Oh yeah.
Right? And how do we do that in a way that like is sober and fun? And how do we do that without it turning into like this madness of like bleh? Like how do we do this? I don't know. Let's figure this out. And then my two younger children, because there's a 12-year difference between my daughter and my son, and 4 years between my baby and my son. Like how do we do this? And kind of figuring those things out. And then when I had my son, it was like, oh, well, I think we can do it this way. Let's go ahead and continue to do this way, and maybe I'll change some things up now because he's a boy, and then having my youngest daughter, it's like, well, we can continue, so it's just this whole like understanding of like knowing that I'm going to accept that change. And to me, that's what's more key, instead of being like, yes, we want to create those traditions of, whatever birthday or event or whatever, but also knowing that I'm open to changing that because each child is going to be different, each situation is going to be different, and how does that really pan out? I don't know. Let's figure this out. And that's, to me, like that's the best thing about like this whole sobriety thing is like, let's figure this out. Let's do this. Let's talk about this. Let's communicate about how did that go for you? How did that go for me?
I think a good thing about sober parenting with young children is younger children seem to be more. It's easier for them to forgive, as opposed to being a teenager where it's like, I think for me a lot of the things was, I may not have known exactly what to do, but I definitely knew what not to do.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I knew one thing, no yelling. That's a big no. I hated that when I was a kid. Obviously, the no drinking, and you know what? And that really helped actually sustain sobriety, because I mean, quitting drinking. There's a saying: quitting drinking is easy. It's staying quit is the hard thing. So a lot of times, even as a single dad and being a divorced dad, where I didn't have custody for a number of years, it was really hard on weekends dropping him off back at home and. I was just so full of piss and vinegar. I was really angry, but then I say, all right, and then throughout the week it's like, the thought of giving in to drinking, even though I was, feeling depressed, lonesome for my son and all that, I just couldn't do it because I know that would ruin everything. And it would be the same legacy I inherited, having a drunk father. So things should be unfamiliar a little bit. And remember, I mean, we've said this before, that change is supposed to feel fake. So if you're trying something new, like a sober Christmas or a sober Thanksgiving, and it feels awkward and weird, it's supposed to.
It's because it is awkward and
Yeah,
weird.
yeah,
It's awkward
yeah.
and weird to like, how do we cut this turkey without me drinking? I don't know. Let's figure this out. And after a few, you're like, oh, I think I kind of got the hang of this. And
Yeah.
then something's going to change it up anyway. So when I'm willing to like accept that new change and go like, oh, well, instead of carving the turkey this way, why don't I cut it this way? And like that's that little bit of change. And of course, I'm not talking about the turkey. I'm talking about other things that are going on, right? Like, how do we welcome in people? How do I put that limit of like, yeah, of course, come over for Thanksgiving, but I'm not going to allow drinking in my house.
You know what, we should probably do a topic on, when it gets closer to the holidays, on just the holiday sober.
The holidays by itself.
Yeah. Well, one thing, just thinking about that, say like, could be a feast, like the Pueblos have a feast all the time and everything. Say it's your first sober feast. You also have family members there. It's gonna feel fake for you. They might want to test you as well too, so they might say something. Best thing to do, instead of getting into that argument where the whole argument evaporates and then the whole issue now is about who gets the last word in, and then you get upset and you go off and drink at everybody. Alcoholics, we like drinking at people. Here, take this,
It's your fault, god damn it.
Well,
If you hadn't done this, I wouldn't drink.
No, you got to own up to that and
Yeah.
understand, accept that.
Yeah.
You're going to take some criticism.
Yeah.
So, and one of the best things to say if someone's like being a little subtly critical of you, they say something, you just say, yeah, I know, and or just say, I know, but I'm just glad I'm here sober.
yeah.
You just keep repeating that. Don't take their bait, and that goes a lot with, say, if you're a sober parent and you were divorced like I was and didn't have custody for a number of years, you can't take that bait. You can't take any smart aleck responses or anything. You just have to let it go. How do you let it go, Jackie? Kind of put you on the spot.
Take a deep breath and like go through my mind, like, is that really something that I need to stand up for, or is that something I can just like know that that's their own junk? Which more than likely it is.
Okay.
More than likely that is their own junk. And sometimes I still buy into it, right? And then sometimes I'm like, nah, just, oh, okay, that's how you think. Or just being quiet, even if I just shut up for a minute, just let them express whatever's going on and really listen to them. Because my
Yeah.
old habits are like, oh yeah, well, and it's like, oh.
The true nature of change, if you really want to just jump into boot camp of change, especially with parenting, is the best way to let it go is just to let it be.
Yeah.
If somebody says
yeah.
something, just go, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Or if you don't know what to do in a particular situation, if you're afraid, boy, I look really dumb at this parent-teacher conference thing, just let it be. Because most of the time, especially at a teacher's conference, they're not necessarily worrying about that. If you start freaking out and getting all nervous, then they might say, "Boy, we better call CYFD." No,
They're
But
not going to say that.
if you just letting it be, that's how
Yeah.
you let things
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Is you just let it.
Yeah. Yeah. And just allowing that person to express themselves and then really listening instead of putting my own interpretation. Well, I remember when. Oh, yeah, what about the time that they, right? Instead of going there, it's just like, well, what are they really trying to tell me? Are they trying to, like, help me out, to give me some, like, guidance in parenting? Or are they just, like, putting their own junk out there? Or are they just trying to express something that's going on within themselves? I don't know, because I'm used to interrupting, and I'm used to, like, just bleh back. But instead, now I'm going to be like, what are they really trying to say, when I'm able to just pull myself back and listen?
It's hard listening.
It is difficult. It's quite a skill. It takes a number of years to get there, and it doesn't just happen, oh, I'm done drinking, so now I can listen to everybody.
Yeah, listen.
It takes it's a skill set that comes along as time goes by, and the more I'm able, and that's what they tell us in the meeting, shut up and listen. And when I'm able to take that outside the rooms, into my life, into my family, into the workplace, and into all those other relationships that I have, I'm able to just shut up and listen, and I'm like, oh, that's what
You,
I'm doing.
one
is
of the ways
listening.
with really true listening also is in order to begin, and it takes training. Again, anything you try is going to feel fake. So if you try this, really listening the first few times, you're going to feel like an idiot and be like, I can't. This sucks. I can't do this and then actually, just what I said there. This sucks. I can't do this. This is too hard. The main thing that to overcome listening is training self-talk. Because an average human being has between
Exactly.
300 to 1,000 words of self-talk in an hour. So when someone's talking, of course we're saying this is bullshit. I can't do this. I'm not cut for this stuff. You know.
I want to say A, B. What about when they
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
just go on a tangent?
And then you miss what they're really saying.
Exactly.
So a lot of it is training yourself, self-talk, just to quiet down.
So how do you gain trust in somebody when you're wanting that to be able to listen to somebody?
You know what? It could be with an ex-spouse who might be a little volatile and still suspicious if you're sober or not, or it might be children. You know, they might be a little, oh, here we go again. The best way to gain trust is safety, because safety is the first stage of human development.
Okay.
According to Erickson's model
Yes.
of social development,
Yes.
which is valid.
Yes.
Erickson actually did a lot of studies with the Sioux tribe for some Lakotas for like 3 years, and then he went back actually to I think it was a Northwest tribe for another year, and then he came out with this social model of development.
Oh, that's
But
interesting.
trust is the very first stage of human development. In order for a child,
An infant.
yeah,
Actually, it's an infancy.
in order for an infant, toddler, child, or even adult, in order for
Exactly.
them to trust somebody, they have to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can create a safe home, I mean, it don't matter if you live in a nice neighborhood, it don't matter if
Yeah.
you live in the ghetto, if you could make that person feel safe there, then you know what, you're going to start getting trust back, and it's a process, So when most kids, they're not going to feel safe if someone's drinking. They're not going to feel safe if someone's yelling. They're not going to feel safe if they're being criticized. They're not even going to feel safe if they see you breaking down crying. So keep that in mind. You have to make that child feel safe. And it might not come immediately, but, it will come.
Well, and not only that, Charlie, but I mean, yes, you're right. For development to happen at any age, but it does begin in infancy, is that trust, that safety, to have a safe space, and then to be able to develop further after that. You have to have that safety and trust. But it's also, I mean, yeah, we should, like, our emotions, I don't always necessarily share with my children. But sometimes I have to. It is a necessary thing to be like, yeah, I'm sad because this is going on, and yes, I am going to cry because this is going on. But it doesn't mean every single time I cry, I share that with them.
Or especially in the
What's
beginning.
appropriate? Yeah, what's appropriate to share at this time, with my children. Sometimes it's just on the spot and it just happens, because we just had this bad news of whatever, right? Sometimes I can't help but cry. And then sometimes I'm like, hold it together for a few minutes. Let them express, listen, move to that safety net. Okay, let's close it up. Anything else, close it up. And then I'm going to go and fall apart in the other room.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
And,
okay.
right? So sometimes, yes, it's appropriate, and sometimes it's not. It just depends on what's going on. How old are my children? How long have I been sober? Do they trust me to cry in this moment? Am I going to freak out and, like, just let it all ball out? Or are they used to me bawling it all out? Like, what's safe? It's going to be different for every family and every situation. It's not just a cold, hard line of, like, this is it. I mean, because that's, again, the thing about sobriety is moving in and out of those shifts of, like, even in my happiness. Is this too much happiness for them to handle? Right?
I'm probably guilty of that.
Like, well, we're listening to whatever, and this is going on. And they're like,
Right.
slow down. Because every child's going to be different, too.
Well, this is a great topic for us to revisit. I think something like parenting, you just can't talk about one time. So we'll definitely be coming back to this. I keep feeling like I got a bug in my hair.
No,
man.
I know. They're flying around. I'm like...
All right, so
we
thanks for
kinda look
watching.
funny going like this.
Thanks for watching, and we'll have more videos up soon. Thank you.
Nice. Whoa. That was a hummingbird that just flew by.